Welcome to Daily 5 for January 1st, 2024. Well, what better way to open up a new year when people are full of optimism and hopes and dreams for a better year than they had previously, or just a good year in general, but to talk about a 40-year-old, well, over 40-year-old, conspiracy paranoid thriller about government involvement and possible alien involvement in cattle mutilations, which is exactly what you get in 1982's Endangered Species, starring Robert Urich and JoBeth Williams. Now, the movie was apparently actually filmed in 1980, but got shelved for 2 years. I don't really know why. I didn't see anything specific about why they did it. Probably some scheduling reason, or maybe they thought it wasn't going to go over well at the time. But this movie often gets paired with another film that I reviewed a little while back, which is Hangar 18, which I liked quite a bit. This movie, though, I think it's a better made movie if I'm just being objective about it. This is a pretty top-notch production in terms of the casting, just the way the movie's made, and really it's a pretty effective little conspiracy thriller about what might be behind cattle mutilations in Colorado. Now, there's two things that are kind of odd about the movie. One is, and these, I'm not going to get into the details just because I don't have time. In 5 minutes, I can't really go through the whole plot the way I can in like the Friday show. But I try to keep these pretty spoiler-free. However, in the case of Endangered Species, in my opinion, the movie basically tells you exactly what the movie is going to be about in the opening two title cards. Even though the movie is structured, at least partially, as a mystery, and not just a mystery to the characters within. There's ways that movies can do mysteries to the characters in the film, but we, the audience, know exactly what's going on all along. And then there are movies that try to position it as a mystery both to the characters and to the viewer. And I feel like this movie is at least partially trying to have it a mystery to us as the viewer as well, except that it basically spells out everything that's going to be explained in the opening title cards, which is a little weird. Not a big deal, but it doesn't seem like it's a mystery if you tell the audiences point blank what's happening right in the opening text before the movie even starts. So that's one odd thing. And the other is the soundtrack. I like the soundtrack. In fact, it reminds me a lot of old Doctor Who episodes, but at times it seems to be actively fighting the movie. And it's employed in strange ways sometimes. Not that it's not effective. It also reminded me a lot of Halloween 3 in some of the ways that it's, some of the way the music is being used. So it's not that it's bad. It's just at times it doesn't seem to fit what the imagery is. However, those two things aside, and they are minor things. They don't by any means destroy the movie. They don't make it unwatchable, anything anywhere approaching that. They just kind of stand out. I think this is actually a pretty good movie. I had a really good time with it. This one took a little longer to hook me than I expected. In the first 30 minutes of what is roughly a 90-minute movie, I knew I was going to have a good time with it. I just didn't know if I was going to really like it. And then by the end, I realized I actually was enjoying it a lot more than I did in the very opening. And that's just because I think there's a little bit of tonal unevenness to it. The Urich character comes off as very unlikable, and I wasn't sure what they were doing with him for a while. And they never quite make that character work entirely, but Robert Urich's really good in the role, so who cares? And it doesn't, again, hurt the movie enough. JoBeth Williams is great. I liked her throughout. I thought that character was established really well, and she felt like she was consistent the whole way through. And then there's a lot of good character actors around the two of them. It's just a good cast, and I think the story is interesting and is based apparently on some journalistic investigations into, and for those who aren't in the United States, may not be aware of how much of this goes on here, because I don't know that it's anywhere else like it is here. There have been a large number of cattle mutilations in the U.S. that have never gotten, as far as I know, any real proper explanations, and there's all different conspiracy theories around what it is. And this movie tries to somewhat incorporate most of the big ones, which I think is actually a very good device in the way that it's using them. That's what I mean about it. It kind of tells you everything right in the opening. But I think it's a very effective film. Movies like this, I think they work best when they make you have at least some small question in your mind at the end of, could any percentage of this possibly be true? And if there's one little lingering doubt on how much of it is fiction and not, then I think the movie is successful. And in that way, I think this movie works very well. I don't think any version of what this movie is showing actually happened, at least not in the scale that they're showing, but it probably has some kernel of truth. And the fact that it leaves you with just that little lingering doubt, I think that's the mark of a great movie. Even if later you find out it's all bunk, the fact that the movie makes you wonder, that is the sign of a successful movie. And in that way, I think 82's Endangered Species works very well. So if you're into these types of films and you haven't seen this one, $3 on Amazon, worth watching. Later.